Okay, so 6 of us here already. So let's see what gives. Let's give the stragglers 5 minutes. How many of you saw the ECCB webinar this morning?
So I was outside for the entire day, so I didn't have a chance to put on my TV.
Oh, okay. It was on Facebook Live and a Zoom link. When I get a recording, I'll share it with you.
Okay, I could get it on my TV on Facebook Watch.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. All right, we're still short of 10 to 11 regulars. So let's see. Carmel, your mic is on. Thank you. All right, anyone has any queries from last class or any of the previous classes we could talk about before we officially start? Carol?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hi, Kenya.
Belinda, your hair, they can't look as bad as mine today, so don't try that. Put your face up.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Lauren outside, they're walking, you know.
Who?
Lauren.
Alexander?
Yeah.
Outside where?
In the playing field.
In the plane. Lives in
Yes, she and Brina.
Lives in Marianne?
Yes, she lives. Yes, she and I tell you, I don't want to beg no negotiation. No, I don't understand. She and Brina, how they walking.
Okay.
I used to do tutoring to her daughter.
Okay, cool.
Miss Mildred.
You have your network organized, man.
Miss Mildred.
Yeah, okay.
Let me take off the camera because everybody has camera off. I don't know why is this.
I stopped taking that one.
None of me.
Yeah.
That's your on, girl.
Your mic is on, eh?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Afternoon. Hi, Glenda.
Oh, hi. That's not here, so that Justina teach that. I love it. See, if you see that one playing peekaboo hide and seek there? One face go up and a new face come up, you know? I like it.
And let's say I stop taking on, yes. Michael, how are you going? Long time.
Hello?
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
The
Good
most
afternoon.
popular man
Is
inside.
my,
Boy.
is my mic on? Yesterday I had the unfortunate experience.
Hush your mouth. How you making Glenda and them know was you? Hush your mouth. What happened to you?
I don't
I know nothing.
I had the unfortunate experience yesterday. I hope my mic is off when he says it's off because he was telling me it was off.
And what class was that?
What was it again?
No, man, that wasn't Lou Jamsey.
Hmm?
That wasn't Lou.
Critical thinking.
Oh gosh.
That wasn't Lou. Don't say that. Do not, please, the fifth, do not repeat that.
I did not say anything. I'm telling you
Good
to be
afternoon,
quiet.
everyone. How everybody doing?
Himself.
Afternoon, plead the fifth, I beg you.
Yes, I don't know why he incriminating himself. For the most popular man, what happened? You ain't no better than that.
I want them to see me out.
All I could say is you took over the class. You was rocking.
It was only,
I think
it was only one word.
it was critical thinking, right?
Yes, it was very.
That's right.
Well, at the end of it, we all think critically.
But that I'm still exactly, and that's what I was doing because I was saying this man, this thing is not for me in almost 50 years, and I'm thinking all kind of things.
You were actually bad talking in lecture?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my.
But, and he said, oh, don't let whatever they said in the background, they distract you.
Hey guys, wait, hold on. Ronnie, you are the one who said that yesterday.
You see how you talk
Do
too
not
much, Ron?
repeat.
Jesus Christ. I don't believe that.
Oh my God.
I wasn't even aware it was you. I just heard the thing.
Me
And
boy,
the
my mic saying I'm muted. I don't understand how that's going.
all it you just say, I was a misfortunate situation.
He said, do not repeat so nobody know who you are.
But I told you the mic wasn't muted.
But
You don't
your
listen.
mic,
I know he can sell himself out in English.
I find Fletcher had some kind of thing to do with that. They were talking on WhatsApp and make you say
I am sure.
and I was talking to somebody else in the room.
What are you, man? Ronnie, my jaw drop, you know.
Why did John drop?
I mean, I'm
Why
not
did John drop?
sorry I said it because I meant it, but I mean, it was
Gina,
nothing.
he said something practical with all the little graphics, you know. He said something practical with all the graphics, but I mean, my jaw dropped.
Let's change after that.
Yeah, I mean, he got a little bit more considerate after that, man.
Okay.
Good afternoon, son, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Ronnie, lucky thing it wasn't at Steve's class. We recorded, so you had to hear that for over and over and over.
And that's not all. The good thing is his name wasn't up.
Oh, you're sure right. Yeah, his name wasn't up on there.
As your G would have been guaranteed, you know.
But there was a G on the register on the equipment, you know. You understand? There was a G. something on the equipment, you know.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
bye.
I mean, I didn't catch. It didn't bother me at all.
Anyhow, all I have to say is be more careful next time.
Yeah, I think so.
Because not everybody has a sense of humor.
But to be honest with you, I mean, I'm not bad talking in class, but it's not like this. It's not together like this.
I remember.
I don't know
What you're doing is unique.
Critical thinking. I don't understand why you can't
It is
teach us.
critical. It's a critical situation, not critical thinking.
Yeah, and the class is kind of one-sided because I guess other persons would have been in the class previously, and I think that the lecturer is not in charge of the class.
Oh.
So that is sad.
we are at a disadvantage because
Well,
they
not
have
just disadvantage. Sometimes you don't want to communicate because you're not even given a chance to. At one time, he said, "Raise your hands," and your hand been up like forever. And you know, even yesterday, I felt Vonnie was disadvantaged yesterday. Exactly. You know, and it is not nice. These persons are just butting in whenever they want, and while we're raising our hands, we're just here waiting. You know, but that's okay. That's just critical thinking. We will handle it critically.
Yeah, well, yeah, you critique at the end of the semester.
I was wondering why I lost it.
no, well,
Oh, you have to wonder. We
I don't
understand.
wonder. I only got in like 15 minutes before the class ended. You know, I was waiting for 2 hours outside there. You know, I mean, Israel foolishness. Yes, I don't even know what's going on in that class. Trust me.
Anyhow, let us critically get to our business.
Yes, so yeah.
Yeah. So last week I told you that both Lauren, who is walking outside, I heard, and and Mrs. Edwards wants to sit into one of our classes, you know. But you know, whenever we're in the mood, we'll probably invite them. But you know, I invited them last Tuesday, but they were both busy, so I think when it happens, it happens. But I'm not fighting it because all our classes are recorded. So if they really want to follow what's going on, you know, they could just click on the link. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Now, a couple things I want to deal with today. And in the vein of keeping things real and practical and dealing with what's happening right now, there was a really good webinar this morning hosted by the Chambers of Commerce for the OECS, right? And it just so happens that I know two of the directors, two of the CEOs, a guy called Tony Regisford out of St. Vincent and Andrew Satney out of, well, he's St. Lucian, but he's the CEO in the St. Kitts Chamber of Commerce. And as you know, the ECCB headquarters is in St. Kitts, and that's where Timothy was recording from his office. Now, it was meant to discuss the ECCB's perspectives in a post-COVID environment. Is everybody hearing me? You guys?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Loud and clear. Yeah, so what he was, primarily what he did a PowerPoint presentation. He presented via his PowerPoint. I mean, a well-prepared PowerPoint. I mean, he was really, literally, technically on point. I mean, he is no fool, as I'm sure all of you know. And he obviously had a good background team help him prepare the slides. So he was on point in terms of how COVID-19 has impacted the region, what they're doing as a central bank, his role as a regulator and as an advocate. And that is the reason why I'm bringing it up now, not only because Timothy is Grenadian, but the fact that he listed one of the roles of the central bank as advocacy. And we, all of us in the development community, that's a major focus of how we operate. We deal in advocacy because there's always a juxtaposition between the private sector, the public sector, and civil society. And one of the reasons why I want to just spend a little time on his presentation is that he was very clear on the role of the public sector, as in government, and the private sector, as in business. Where he did not really go into the weeds was the role of civil society. He mentioned a little bit about credit unions and the financial intermediaries and so on, credit unions and all that. But he didn't deliberately shy away, just didn't come up. So he didn't address, let's say, trade unionism, right? In a way that somebody who has a CSO focus might have drifted into that. But he was very clear on what the ECCCB is doing as a regulator, as an advocate, and to emphasize the strength of the currency union, right? Guys, see, that is why I need to see, you know, at least to see you dropping asleep, at least, you know, nodding.
I'm here.
Right, you know, because not that everybody is afraid to have the mic unmuted, you know, everybody panicking and looking down at the mic to make sure the mic off, right? So coming back to the webinar this morning, and I'm going to advise those of you who can take a look at the recording, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube or on the ECCD website, to take a look at his presentation. You don't have to go through the whole 2.5 hours with the questions and so. But his 1 hour presentation was a masterclass, literally, in terms of how a central bank, the role of a central bank, especially in a monetary union like the Eastern Caribbean Monetary Union. Okay? So coming back to what else has to do with our course. So you mentioned the role of advocate, but one of the areas that he was really, really strong on, and it didn't come out only in his presentation, but when he was answering questions, had to do with messaging. And the fact that he listed the two jobs, the two areas of focus for the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank at this time. And do you know what they were? One, the safety and well-being of his staff. Job one, the safety and well-being of his staff, and then the protection of the monetary union. And he made the point that without the first one, you can't accomplish the second one. Are you guys with me? So that his messaging was to that entity I keep referring to, the internal public. You cannot be effective. You cannot execute your mission, which is the role of a CSO. The role of the CSO is to execute a mission, to achieve that vision, so that to make yourself literally redundant. Because you know how great it would be if 3 years after you set up your CSO, you bring all the other CSOs in Grenada to the level that we want them to be. Then you could all retire, because you would have executed the mission, you know, to the nth degree. I mean, we know that life is dynamic and there will always be new things to learn, so that you really wouldn't be going out of business in the first 3 years. But if in the first 3 years you interact with every CSO in this country and bring them up to a particular standard, you would have been well on your way to your mission. Agreed? So as I said, he spent some time on talking about the internal messaging. And while he was talking, I kept thinking about the history of the ECCB, because again, I've been lucky enough to interact with and do some work for the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank when the late Dwight Venner was in charge, right? The bank has always had a focus on great employee relations, right? Another thing he mentioned is the impact of COVID-19 on the mental health of the citizens of the Eastern Caribbean, but he also mentioned the responsibility of employers, to consider the mental health impact of COVID-19. And he gave an example of some business person who, small business, let's say he had 6 employees or whatever, and he put them on 2-day shifts, you know? Everybody worked 2 days a week kind of thing. And apparently, the businessman took a decision to let go some people. So in other words, he kept 2 and used them all through the week, and he released the other 4. And Timothy was saying, well, you can't really, you know, you can't sit in the man's shoes and decide for him whether he should let go people or not. But there's a social responsibility of having 4 people now onto the breadline, right? So you've saved 2 jobs here, but you have 4 people there now who are potential victims, literally, of the whole COVID-19 episode. So coming back to ECCB and their responsibilities as staff, the person in charge of their human resource development and employee packages, and so how many of you have heard of a EPA?
No.
Which is the employee
Context.
employee Action Act, which deals with the responsibility of the employer to take care of the employees, even when it extends to providing counseling services and that type of thing, right? And a number of the more, up end or top end institutions and businesses all have that employee assistance programs built into their package. So the same way you have a dental plan and you have a medical plan, there's this plan that covers your counseling services as well, right?
So some of them even have like daycares and stuff depending on the nature of the
especially if you have
work that the employees do to help take care of the children and all of these kind of things.
Definitely. And you know what is interesting about that is that there are trade unions that don't do that for their own staff. And as I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this, but it was really shocking when the most powerful union in Trinidad had their employees go on strike. I mean, that tells me it's the kind of feeling that I suspect Kenya had when she listened to the trade unionist a couple of days ago, and she said, he or she literally turned her off of trade unionism, right? So you would expect that trade unions would have that type of employee focus. But coming back to the ECCB, so even in those days, even in the days when Dwight Venner was Sir Dwight was the late Sir Dwight was in charge, the person in charge of their employee assistance programs and so their EAPs was a Dominican guy called Val Morello. And Val hired us while I was still teaching at UWI to do a whole lot of training programs for his staff. And a number of occasions they did things in preparation for retirement, which is something that a lot of big organizations tend not to do. You have an aging staff, you know that you're going to separate them, at age 65 or whatever the retirement age is. But how do they make that transition? There are some people that aren't really cut out for retirement in the sense that they are their job and their job is them, and unless you have counselors, other professionals, mid-career professionals come in and talk to them about, what do you do with these accumulated skills, Not everybody is going to be content to stay home and,
So,
Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
Is it a business people running or a daycare?
No. It's not a daycare they run. What they are running is an employee assistance program because they know that they're going to get the benefits from the employees. Let me tell you something. A sullen worker, a person who is just coming in there 8 to 4 and prepared to give you the barest minimum for you not to fire him or her, is not as productive as a worker who is motivated to be to consider themselves part of this firm. If you're working for an employer that is considerate enough to have arranged daycare for you, especially if you're a single parent, right? Trust me, it has been shown. Of course, you're going to have the odd taker who, whether you're provided with daycare, you get them a salary 6 times what they would, they will still complain and they'll still grump and they still won't work. But the vast majority of cases, right, you find that the employee performance affects the bottom line of the firm.
Can I say a bit?
So just
can I add something?
Kevin, hold on, guys. Kevin, are you still there? Right? So
yeah, but doesn't that involve the company getting involved in the employees' private affairs?
No, it doesn't, because the employer is already involved in your private affairs by asking you to come to work from 8 until 4. If you're
No, that's for money.
sorry?
That's for money. But when you bring in a counselor now,
No. If you're talking about the confidentiality and so, no. Because you see, you cannot, Kevin, separate an employee's private life from the outside of the store to when they get in the store. Let us pick Foodland. I mean, I don't know anybody working in Foodland. I have no brief for Foodland. Let us assume Foodland had a program like that in place. If I had a rough day and a rough night, whether it's because my child was ill, we had marital difficulties, whatever it is, and I am coming to work in Foodland for 7:45 or 7:30, whatever it is impractical to assume that I could be in a bad mood when I leave home 6:30. When I reach Foodland, magically, I'm going to say, I'm here for the money, I'm here because they pay me, So I drop everything at the door and I come and I get them a full day's work. And when I'm leaving at 4:30, I get back into worrying about, what again I'm trying to see, what I'm going to do about X, Y, and Z. I am challenging you, Kevin, to tell you that you already have an engagement with the employee, right? So whether you're paying them or not, and I mean, as I said, without getting into a whole class on psychology and Maslow's hierarchy and needs and all them kind of stuff. Take it from me, as an old bat who has been around a while, that if you do not genuinely care about your employees, you're not going to get the most out of them in terms of productivity. And that's okay?
True.
Kevin,
So,
Kevin, let me finish, Kevin. Right? So Kevin, I know you like to be devil's advocate, right? I know you like to, ask questions like that. I mean, I like you for that. Literally, really like you for that. I like you for a lot of things. Apart from parking close to my lane, people damage my car. I mean, I think you're the perfect student outside of that.
How much times I will apologize for that, so.
I don't speaking to you, Miss Lady. I said, Kevin. I didn't blame you, You weren't the driver.
In class.
If Kevin had parked like most normal people would park social distance 6 feet from my motor car, we would not have that issue, right? I was prepared for COVID long before Kevin started parking next to me, right? No, but seriously, Kevin, you with me, right? So I know you like to ask controversial questions, I think, but do you at least halfway agree with me that Kevin? Kevin?
Hey, I get thrown off twice and I come back on.
Well, that's just
my internet connection is bad.
I was just wishful thinking on my part. I was just socially distancing you. But do you agree that at least halfway with me that a well taken care of employee is going to be a more productive employee without getting into the personal business? I ain't saying that you must send him on constant.
I totally agree.
Right? Kevin, I don't want to move on until we trash this out, because.
Well, listen. The thing is that there's this new culture that, when we go to work, we must let the workplace get all in our lives and get pampered and discuss all our personal problems. You're there to work, do the people work, leave the people work, and done. When you reach 60 or 65, you should have known long before that before you reach 60 or 65 that the countdown is coming and you have to leave. You have to leave.
All right, okay.
No. I don't know what all of this thing about counseling and pampering, what we building here, like a cry society. Get up and get out and move.
No. I want to disagree.
That is the worst.
Remember, the idea behind an interactive class is to have interaction, right? I think Kevin has a legitimate view. Whether I think he believes it or not is immaterial. Kevin has a legitimate view he has expressed. We need to deal with it as adults, right? I am saying that, Kevin, I disagree with you totally. In the same way that I disagree with my partner, Karen, last time when he bring up carnival and thing, I'm disagreeing with you strongly. We are not creating a baby up society. We are extending the caring that we see is part of our culture and is part of our whole social interaction to the workers that have made us prosperous and that are working to make us richer, right? So,
Can I make a comment?
that's not Carolyn, right? So I'm saying, Kevin, that as the facilitator of this class, I disagree with you strongly. I think that there is a middle road. I'm not saying that you want to be up all in people's business and want to know who wife leave them or who wife wanted them and all that. That's not your business. But once it affects your employment, I think there's a responsibility on both sides to have some middle ground. End of text. So let me hear Natisha and then I'll hear Sharon. Natisha, you were saying something before.
Oh, yes, sir. I read a book some time back that was speaking to that exact same point that you're making there. And I come to realize at a very young age that the more you take care of the person that are underneath the care of the employer, it's the more reward you would get from them, and you feel like there's a loyalty that you do not get from the person that just come because of they need employment. Like, for example, a simple thing I would have observed from one of them organizations. The workers will go, one of the manager, he would say, my employees would come and say, you know what, I have to go in a funeral. He said when he analyzes, he would say, okay, you know what, come to work for a few hours and you can leave early to go. But lower down the road, when they have things that come in late, like for the company, he can call on that same set of employee to say, you know what, stuff will be late, can you stay back to help us with it? And it's a give and take. He won't put up finance for it, but because of the favors he would have granted earlier on, the person now sees that, no biggie, my boss now, when I needed that at that point, he was able to supply me with it, so I would give back on that end. And based on the concept that you're sharing, it built a loyalty and stuff for the employees and the employers that you don't get on somebody that just doing it for employment's sake.
Right, granted. And another point that I want to leave you with is that there are a number of times when well-paid employees are dissatisfied. So it's not always.
Of course.
There are a number of times when people leave jobs where they're being relatively well paid by industry standards, but the environment itself is not conducive,
So another thing, as you were speaking, something came to my mind as to speak to the to persons that are well paid being unsatisfied. And a lot of the times it's because, and I'm seeing how the skills audit in regards to not just skills of the employees, but looking at it in understanding your employees' need at a given time. Like, for example, the police force, I'm not sure if they have it, but because of the line of duties, I'm thinking that they should have the counseling section of the police being ready, just in case probably. Pardon me?
Trinidad has it.
Okay, I'm not sure if Grenada has it. That, if one of the officers experience anything traumatic, then most times, it's just saying that service is there. We provide that service for you that you can take advantage of. Because we know that your line of your employment take in this sort of risk that will, disturb you in some way or the other.
I'm very getting what
Hold on. Another thing to notice is that when you talk about the army and the defense force and the police and so, you're clearly not talking about people who are accustomed to being babied up. So to go towards Kevin's point.
Exactly. That's, yeah.
Rough and tumble people. Even rough and tumble people need counseling. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so sorry. We had Sherilyn and then Richardson. Sorry. Quickly, Sherilyn.
I'm touching on Natty. Yes, the police have certain things in place. Now, I'm a police baby. My mom's a police, and both my brothers are involved in the police force as well. So what they have, they call it the police welfare.
Right.
Now, it may not be as grand as some other countries, but I'm far more impressed with how their welfare functions compared to how our union function. I pay union dues, and to this point, I can't see why, I can't see way, I can't understand for what. But how the police welfare function, because they are not allowed to be members of the union, they had to come up with something to give themselves some form of protection. And it's also like a savings for the police officers. It takes care of them if one of them come down with severe ailments and the insurance can't cover, because they also give their police officers, they have insurance, the families covered, and a number of things that the welfare negotiate for them. They also, when the kids pass CPA, they get a sum of money to help them to send their children to school. If you have children doing CXCs, you can also approach the welfare to get things like that. When I was growing up, it was, I didn't grow up with my mom, but a bonding thing for us was they had police children Christmas party.
Yeah.
And that was organized by welfare as well. And it's like they take it out of their monthly salary and it goes towards the welfare, and the welfare then do what they need to do to keep police and police families happy. So, I mean, and I am far more impressed with that way of doing things than the way our unions function here. With some of what them get on.
Fair enough. Nicholson? Or was it Richardson?
So that's my country.
Was it Richardson?
I was saying that I was not really hearing anything you guys was saying.
Oh,
you guys was so badly.
You were hearing now? You hearing us now?
Yes, I can.
I think it's something with your internet connection, because you're breaking up as well while you're talking to us.
Steve, I had my hand up earlier on, right? I wanted to contribute towards the employer providing like the services for the employees. What I have observed or experienced is that not only does that provide a sense of security for the employer or the employee, what it also does is it creates this form of punctuality, attendance. There is this connection, because instead of you going, let's say, far up north to drop your child off at a daycare center, the child is provided for or cared for not too far away from the compound. And what happens, you get maximum production out of that employee. And also the employee knows that their child is not too far away, so their mind rests. So if they have to complete a task, what they do is they tend to, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
They tend to give that extra towards it, because they see it as the employer putting themselves out for them. Some cases they provide meals for them as well, you know?
Yeah. So thanks, Linda. But one of the things I want us to be clear about, I am not advocating EAPs for every business place. And I'm not saying that because a place has an EAP program, all the employees going to be happy and everybody going to be productive. It is a matter of scale. On an overall scale, there are benefits that accrue. Let me put it to you this way. These big companies would not be continuing to invest in it unless they saw it at the bottom line, right? Because EAP services are not cheap, right? It's usually from a consulting firm, a firm of consulting psychologists, and these people charge by the hour, just like medical professionals and dentists and so. So trust me, it is not something that is going to be universal. It isn't universally successful. So I'm sure you can find a business place with a perfect EAP plan and still a set of slackers in there who are not doing any work at all. which might be symptomatic of something else apart from the EAP and, and the leadership style of the human resource manager and that type of thing. But to come back to our interest in marketing and messaging and communication, because that is where it starts. When you have a leader of a CSO, leader of a union, or anybody who can empathize and who can say publicly that, look, our job one is to make sure that the staff is safe, especially in the midst of a pandemic. One of the things that, as he was saying it, struck me is that a lot of this is symbolic at times, because I'm sure you know that there are a number of companies that will be talking that good talk, but they really ain't that nice anyhow. We can't just jump up and say, well, okay, we could have a good marketing manager, and because now us have a good, I'm Jamila, always dropping announcements on Facebook and think that's a perfect company. No, I'm saying that we are involved in studying how you get your marketing message out, and I'm saying that part of it is in the communication, right? Something that was drawn to my attention recently was what Courts is doing now for people entering the store. Not only are they giving you the traditional, hardware store, 2 quick swipes of their hand sanitizer, they're taking your temperature. Now that is primarily symbolic because Courts have no real medical authority. If my temperature happens to be a little high, to tell me, that, hey, there's a COVID, go home, right? But it gives the staff and the rest of customers this sense that, they're really prepared to go the extra mile to keep us safe, right? It's the same thing with security cameras. Do you have any idea how many business spaces have security cameras that work? But in terms of the front that they put out and, the regard they have for people's security and things, them camera tapes haven't been changed in 20 years, right? But you see, big sign, under surveillance and blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying that we want to be aware of the messaging and the messages, but we want to also be aware of the fact that there's no perfect solution. There's no perfect marketing plan. There's no perfect employee-employer relationship. But I'm saying that if, as a CSO, as an employer, as a development worker, if you are not aware of the possibilities for some of these things, then you're shortchanging yourself and you're shortchanging your organization, right? That was the only reason I mentioned, Timothy, and I mentioned Courts, and I mentioned Foodland. And I can assure you that I have no shares in either of those 3, right? So I want to go on to talk about this article that I downloaded for you guys on 7 practical skills, ideas. Sorry?
Mr. Maxime?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could I break for about 20 minutes? I just got a call from the police, something I urgently need to take care of.
Yeah, sure, Michael, sure.
All right, I'll be back in about 20 minutes.
Pick up your mic before I go. You will never live that down, you know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and we will go through these 7, let me give you the proper name for the thing. We'll go through these 7 tips for effective marketing for NGOs or CSOs. Okay, guys? So we're going to try that now. Oh, by the way, are there any questions before we shift off on messaging from CEOs and governors of central banks and that kind of thing? Anybody? Cool. Okay, guys, is everyone seeing my screen? Oops, sorry.
Yes, it's in the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, now.
Yes.
Is that better? Is this better? 7 tips for effective marketing of NGOs.
It's a bit wide. You'll have to scroll it across.
Yes. To the right
Yeah,
is not. I'm not
that's
seeing
much
to the
better.
right.
You could widen it a little.
Okay, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's it there?
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let me just, yeah. So I want to go through this with you because I thought it was really interesting how people in the NGO community and in the CSO world realize that you tend to be at a disadvantage when you belong to a nonprofit or a CSO. But there's always this temptation to believe that because it's a nonprofit, you're cash strapped, you're always begging, and the types of things that I try to take out of your head from the very first. Okay? So in today's world, millions of businesses and brands are struggling to stand out from their competitors and to grab people's attention. Effective marketing in the social sector is even more challenging and requires a unique way of creating catchy content to get people to listen. You with me? Right? So the subject matter of NGOs can be very disheartening. Because remember, you're talking about a cancer society here, a CSO improvement society here, environmental cleanup campaign here and there. And usually it's not, the topic is not normally a very cherry one. Because as development workers, you tend to be tackling some of the hard issues. All right? So it's even more challenging to think of creative ideas to promote these organizations. So now, based on their work with a particular NGO, right? An organization dedicated to improving the lives of women and children in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They've come up with these 7 tips for NGOs to get their message out there. And why I'm particularly impressed with looking at these 7 tips is that I actually, I get around a bit here. So I actually know some Italians who are involved in here Congo, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I know that they are extremely passionate about what they do. I mean, the Congo is really, really rough stuff. I mean, you're talking about internal conflicts and serious atrocities and things. And to be a development worker and say you want to go into the Congo, I mean, you have to have a real belly, literally, and you have to really be a serious development professional. All right? So the first tip is to keep up to date on trends. It is a common misconception that serious issues need to always have a serious voice. I think we know that. When it comes to creating catchy content online, it is important to use a tone that people will respond to. Therefore, it is vital to keep up to date with the latest online trends to make the content easy to share. Make your message loud and clear by taking advantage of the many popular trends that are constantly changing. So the World Wildlife Fund in Denmark did this by using the popular trend of course, selfies was popular at the time, an effective way by doing hashtag selfies with the gorillas that they were trying to protect, right? And they actually had a campaign called "This Could Be the Last Selfie" with the gorillas in the background, the gorillas that they are trying to protect. Those of you who are familiar with the work of the World Wildlife Fund and so would know that their work with the panda, the giant Chinese panda, that big black and white teddy bear looking bear. I mean, they have been very, very effective by having really serious campaigns for people who are not normally animal lovers and animal protectors like myself, But even I, sometimes stop and take a second look at efforts to save the panda and save the thing, because as I'm sure I told you guys already, I believe in save the people, right? I like animals and so, you know, but I believe in species loyalty. I think I want to save people first, right? And this is where me and white people always fall out, because white people seem keen to save every other kind of animal except black people. But anyway, that's another conversation another time. So tip number 2. Oh, any questions on tip number 1, people?
No, you summed it up.
Okay, so the second one is don't only be online. Now, I know this is some sort of counterintuitive, because you know everything is online. But there are still some campaigns that work, even though they're not online, you know, and very high tech. So there was this India poverty campaign that said it is essential to use different forms of marketing to assist in raising awareness about social issues. The online environment is flooded, and in order to stop people in their tracks and think about an issue, you need to make use of different forms of marketing that can ultimately be shared online. The catchiest content for NGOs is content that is visual, such as images, videos, quotes, or physical activations. In other words, having a live panda in a mall, you know, is going to be a lot bigger than an online person. So that what they did is they did an in-store campaign, right? And that way you raise people awareness just by being in an environment where the people who you want to help are the people who could afford to be in the supermarket in the first place, right? And when you think about targeting people in a poverty campaign, you know, you want to preach to the people who are in a position to do something about it, right? 3, appeal to your audience. It's important to understand the audience that you are reaching out to in order to create more effective content. Analyze your visitors' behavior on the internet. It's a great place to start human behavior and to start a conversation and understand the audience better. Not all marketing for NGOs has to be serious and depressing. Sometimes the best way to get a point across is to use something lighthearted, slightly humorous, and simple to understand, just like the Save the Rhino organization did with us. And the printout is on the website. When you guys follow the link that I supplied you with, you'll see it yourself, right? You can also use the shock factor, and I don't even think we need to read this one, because we talked about this last week when we talked about Minister Steele getting vexed, and actually, really shocking people with language that you don't normally associate with him, you know what I mean? Got to the point where he said, people stupid, you know what I mean? This is, so that shock factor thing is not something that, we are unaware of. Infographics. Having catchy content, spending, and listen to me carefully, spending the money for a proper graphic artist. Now, I keep using real life examples, right? And the example I tend to use a lot, and I'm sure you're all tired by now, is the Animators Association. What we have been able to do is we have been able to work with a graphic artist who, apart from doing paid work for us, does a lot of pro bono work for us as well. Because a simple thing like a ticket for a boat ride, it's remarkable the difference a well laid out graphic makes for promoting that boat ride on Facebook and what the actual ticket looks like, the hard paper ticket, because for things like boat rides and fundraisers like that, and so, you need imagery that conveys the sense of joy and fun that people are going to have on this boat ride. And if it's something that is being done annually, pictures from the boat ride last year graphic images from the boat fight last year, you know, a comment here, a comment there. Those kinds of things, you know, really, really makes a big, big difference. Then they talk about increasing your online presence. I think we've been inundated with Facebook. So, I mean, I think when we go on to talk about another set of tips, you'll see where using click for pay, I mean, actually buying spots on Facebook makes sense. Because I'm sure most of you know that you can do Facebook ads, you know, you can pay for Facebook ads, you can pay for increasing Facebook exposure, right? And for as little as 5 years, you know, you could expand the reach of your marketing campaign. But again, you have to balance that with the audience that you're looking for. If you're looking to do a beach cleanup only in St. Mark's, you don't want to spend money to have somebody in England see that on Facebook. Because, I mean, with the exception of somebody who would send money from England, you know, to pay for gloves and so forth to use the beach cleanup, that would be literally money wasted, because that is not the kind of reach you want. You want a more targeted audience. You want to work with people. You want to put up a poster maybe outside the most popular man in St. Mark's house, or you know, a place of business, right? And then 7 is to be literal and direct. You need to have imagery and words that get to the heart of the message. Nobody is going to read a thesis, right? If your marketing campaign is about 20-something points going down the line there on a poster, I don't care where it is, if it's on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever, you're not going to get the same reach and impact as literal, direct, and clear messaging, right? So I've shared the link with you guys. I want you to be able to go to the link, see some of the examples that they have mentioned, and then see how you can literally use some of those techniques and skills in your own marketing efforts. But again, one of the things that I want to stress as we're talking about marketing for CSOs, do not only depend on the free codes. I know there's a temptation when you know, it's just a little football club. Will we get money to get graphic artists to do the tickets? You know? 3 approaches to that. 1, if you did a proper skills audit, and if you have a real good database on your staff and members, you may very well find out that the daughter of your cleaner is on a scholarship in SGU or somewhere to do with commercial art or graphic design or something like that. So that whilst I'm not saying that you're going to drop the heavy hammer on the cleaner and absolutely get daughter to do it for you for free, I am saying that it might be a better investment to pay that young aspiring person. And if you get them into the fold, after the first 2 or 3 times that you give them a paid assignment, I can almost guarantee that the 4th and 5th time, because they have seen how the exposure through your CSO has given them even more exposure, then you'll be surprised at how quickly, how easily you can get that person to be the graphic artist for CSOs. Now, as I'm saying that, I'm smiling because I remember the discussions around the design of the logo, right? So anybody involved in that process wants to comment on that, on the use of freebies, because I didn't hear anybody when we were talking about designing CSO say, let me pay so and so now, let me pay Island Graphics or anyone of them to do the logo. So, comments?
Yes, sir, I would like to comment. Well, the logo that we put forward was created by a young and upcoming graphic person. He does T-shirts and other things, tickets and whatnot and stuff. So I know him through my line of work. So I explain what our organization and stuff, thing with. Even when he presented the first copy, and I actually gave him feedback, he was able to tell me, what, let's not do it that way, do it that way, because how the hands are on the logo, it's supposed to send out a particular message and, and so forth. So we did use, well, for our logo design, we did use somebody from within our community that is in that area.
But did the conversation ever involve paying for somebody to do a logo? Was that your first reaction when you had your first meeting? I think Kenya would have had the meeting notes. Did that ever come up?
No, in regards to paying, well, personally, he would tell me, you owe me on that, which I know I would have to pay for later somewhere, because he's into organizing football and stuff within the community, our community as well. So I know when that season come around, I have to pay for that, because he will come knocking on my door to sponsor something. Right. So it's like a give and take.
Yeah, but as a grouping, as a new CSO, did it come up at all? Did anybody suggest that you should pay for a professionally designed logo?
No, we did not.
No, it did not come up.
No, we did not. That did not come up.
It was the different logos came and we picked from what people put in.
And what people were able to squeeze other people to do for free.
Well, all that too.
I know.
So nothing is for free.
I was there. Oh, I heard somebody with my mantra. Nothing is for free. Yeah.
You see, I put up my G because I create my G with the intent to go and change, and I upload the wrong logo, so I left it so.
Right. So you see, even in the days where you're forming the organization, you have to be prepared to have the right mindset, right? There's nothing free out there, right? There's nothing free out there. There are things that come with no direct cost to you, at least not immediately. But you always have to ask yourself, are we prepared to spend money to get something professionally done? Since it's going to be our first exposure to the public, will be the logo, right? Did anyone say, we're doing a course on proposal writing. Do you think we could do up a quick proposal to see if Jeff will fund a logo?
Nope, that didn't even cross my mind.
It didn't cross my mind.
All we was thinking about is it's a new group and we don't have a cent. So how can we get this done in the most professional way without us having to find any money that we have none? In all our meetings, the focus of paying for anything was not there, because all we were thinking, well, we're just starting up and there is no money.
Who was the lecturer on that course?
I know, right?
Steve
I wonder
Maxime.
what they teach us by.
You all got that Mr. Cheap attitude from me? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir.
I'm listening.
But so you did mention us putting a cost to everything, finding out what it will actually be valued, and then take it. Yes.
There you go.
You did say that. That was our first option, and then we take it from wherever it is. Yes.
So even the guy that he's talking about, we should have an idea of what that contribution was. If he was doing that for somebody that he didn't know, would it cost $500, $800, $1,000? And then the first meeting of that CSO report should have had our first contribution of $1,000 was provided by Jim Jones, who did the logo for free. So
that slipped us totally.
I will take a bow as a lecturer,
Yes.
I also take a slap for not teaching you all enough that you didn't.
No, so you did. I believe that we need to meet some more.
Right? So
Yes, sir, you did.
I leave that there. So you see how
You did say that all contributions has a value to it,
yeah.
and you need to record the value of each of the
Because
contributions.
Because nothing is for free.
Right. When Khadijah joins one of our classes and we start pitching that, we're looking for funding from Jeff and so, are we a $1,000 organization or are we a $5,000 organization? How can we argue that if we have not costed all of the time we have put in? In other words, you had Kenya working on this thing. How have you guys valued Kenya's time? How have you valued Michael's time? How have you valued Glenda's time, right?
Exactly, the midnight oil, the midnight oil.
There you go. So it is not a slap, but it is a reminder that just because we finished that course last semester doesn't mean you have to forget everything about that as we're talking about marketing. Everybody with me?
True. We
Yes. We don't forget at all.
Are you guys seeing how some of the rubbish that I was talking before is coming back to haunt, Right? I mean, this is what a learning experience is supposed to be about. I kept insisting, I said, look, the only way you will know what it is to organize a CSO and to form a CSO is to organize a CSO and form a CSO. The only way you're going to get to the nitty-gritty of how you prepare a proposal for funding and how you expand your mind in terms of how we're going to craft this thing. And here you had a perfect opportunity to say, look now, nobody has put together a proposal for how we could approach an organization to fund the logo design. Silence.
So you're correct.
Silence. There's not only 6 people in this class now. What happened to all the people that are not here in nausea?
I don't know if they're sleeping.
No. We're here.
Shamsi.
I'm awake.
Shamsi, you there?
I'm feeding the worms. I'm here.
Okay. Mrs. Sandy. Is Mrs. Sandy with us? No? Sharama?
Yes, sir. Feeding the worms. Oh, God. I did.
We had to call this class supper or what? Anyhow.
Boy.
Kevin, is what I'm saying ringing true? Do you remember us discussing those kinds of things, those kinds of issues? Kevin?
All right, I still do smoking.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Kevin.
Sorry, I heard someone else talking.
Yeah, I think
And that's Louis again.
Yeah, what were you asking, sorry?
I was saying if comments that I made about logo design, I think if it rang true, do you remember doing those things when we were doing the actual classes on design and proposal preparation? Or was that one of the classes where you were moving your vehicle and you're walking late?
Uh-huh. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Grenada, but it's like internet sticking like crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I couldn't even hear the full question.
Now, what I was saying is that I just admonished the entire class for not approaching the logo design in the way that I taught them to approach funding of.
Well, everybody was waiting for you to pull the links and get the stuff done.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. There's a psychology to all of this, you know.
I know.
And just like the rabbit in the hole, you just fell into it. So welcome.
Fair enough. I stand accused. Absolutely no problem. But just remember, Sabukara. Sabukara is a whole saying that means, my time will come, no panic. Anyway, Listra, are you with us? Or are you feeding your face too?
No, I'm right here listening.
All right.
But sir, what do you find? You find that they should change the logo?
No. I'm just saying that I expected to see a costing attached to it so that when Mrs. Edwards joins the class and asks, what kind of progress have you all made before you come approaching small grants for funds, I expected you to be able to say that, look, now we have a $4,000 organization already because I've costed all the effort by Kevin and Karen and Michael and Listra and Mr. Chapal, everybody, because I taught you guys how to cost your input. And the hours that you spent on designing this thing, I thought you'd have been able to hit Miss Edward with a figure that, this is a $4,000 CSO. So the $3,000 that we're asking you for to do X, Y, and Z is a small donation to our overall cause. I rest my case. All right.
I agree with you, sir.
Any questions?
And I believe we have to step up and start meeting and put things in place. I think so.
Right. I'll leave you with that.
Right. I thought they were going to start the monthly subscription, but
as I said,
at this stage I don't spend the money already.
Don't use my class to organize all your private business. I'm here to talk about marketing of CSOs, and we're going to talk about that now. Fair enough? I also, Belinda, you had a question? A comment?
I just said yes. You asked if it's fair enough, so I said yes.
Okay. All right, I want to share.
So,
Yes.
permission, please to ask something. I'm just thinking, based on what we would have just experienced there, because I'm thinking like our mindset, even though you would have taught it and we are going through it, but our mindset haven't reached exactly where you want it to get as yet. So then how does that now fall in line with the other organizations that we are setting up to assist?
Yeah, but
in regards to getting that mindset.
Yeah, but remember you're going through, is a process you're going through, I mean, 18, 20, 40, 60 contact hours doesn't make you an expert. All right, so I'm just pointing out that, you have to constantly reassess, remember some of the stuff that you would have learned in your way to getting your G or your B or your C or your D or whatever it is you got, all right? So I'm just saying that this is a constantly evolving process. So even though we would have finished that course already, every now and then you're going to have to, take a little look back and just make sure that you're following some of the principles that you said you learned or you thought you learned last semester. That's all, right? It's no biggie. And it will come up again. Because as I say, we're not perfect and you haven't. If you know everything already, we wouldn't be doing this process. Cool? So it's not a criticism, it's a reminder.
Correct. No, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Thank you. You're here to guide us.
Good afternoon, sir. I want to come in here. Just joining back the meeting.
Yeah, sorry about you missing some.
Apparently, I came to at the right time to hear the conversation that was happening.
Okay, right. Okay, cool.
So, I mean, I'm just here to add that, you're right. You said it correctly. It's a process. Organization are very much a serious process. And the fact that we are in the forming stage of the organization, that is one of the most toughest process of the organization. Even though that's when we have the most vigor and we have the most enthusiasm, we still have that thing to mesh and to get the formalities of the organization out of the way before we could start, coming together and put things together. So I think, I don't think that we have forgotten what we learned, but I think it's about putting it to action in a more practical and more organized way.
Yeah, and as I said, it's not a criticism because hindsight is 20/20 vision. So any fool could come afterwards and ask, how come you didn't do this and how come you didn't do that? I mean, I'm not attempting to be that fool. I'm just saying that as a reminder, it's not a criticism. There are always better ways to do things. I think that's the long and short of what I
definitely
want to Michael, your issues resolved? You back?
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
Oh, okay. And they didn't arrest you. Well, good.
By the way, do we get would we be getting eventually monies for being part of on the CSO executive?
Who you asking at, me or Karen?
Who's in charge?
Yeah, Michael, we will be getting monies, but getting it from you.
You take that up, as I said, take that up on your own time, please.
Okay.
Last time for that. All right?
Yes.
But I'll be eavesdropping, but don't use my class time for that. All right. The other, I want to share my screen with you again. I sent you a link to this website. So let me see if I can put it up and we'll talk about it on the other side. Hold on. Okay, let me. Okay, guys, hold on. Let me know if you are seeing the website I want you to see. Have you seen a website that starts off with Help Me I'm Poor?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, so this is another, I sent you this link as well. And it says marketing for a good cause, 7 strategies for nonprofits. Cool? And they're saying that nonprofits are hit with the bigger digital marketing challenge of all, biggest, sorry. Having no money. Does that sound familiar? Based on the conversation.
Very much so.
All right. So to operate, thrive, and raise awareness for their cause without spending a substantial amount of money can seem impossible in a world of bigger, louder, and more financially equipped online advertisers. Even though the challenges sound momentous, the people in these positions are often super passionate and driven by a cause that feels bigger than themselves. Remember, we had that discussion that when you're part of the development community, there's always this sense that you're involved in something that's a lot bigger than you, right? Marketing for nonprofits still ain't easy. In this post, you learn 7 digital marketing strategies to help nonprofits get noticed. In an overpopulated digital world, without spending every last marketing penny available, you have to really come good, right? So tip number 1, remember I'm just quickly going through these. I sent you the link, so at your leisure, I want you to go through it, okay?
Okay.
They are suggesting that pay-per-click marketing works. And I started talking about it when I said about spending $5 to increase your Facebook spread or reach, the Facebook spread or reach, and they are suggesting that even though you're on a tight budget, you can still find ways of funding. And do not underestimate the power of writing a proposal to do just that. Because remember, there's a sequence in which we did the courses there. We did organizing it, starting it, and then how do you get resources for it? And how do you improve your ability to get resources for it? By doing course number 3 or 113, which is marketing for CSOs. So there's rhyme to the madness. Tip 2, awaken emotions through video. Now, this is something that I'm really concerned for CSOs, especially in Grenada. I find that all of us, when I say all of us, I mean the floor membership, the president, everybody in CSOs in Grenada, everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has a phone with some video capability. But we save the video capability to circulate WhatsApp jokes and clips of Trump and things, but we never really capture some of the interesting moments in life of the CSO. We never capture situations that will help awaken emotions to our cause. Because remember, as CSOs, we are mission driven. Let me repeat that. As CSOs, we are mission driven. In other words, we eat, think, drink, operate based on the mission that we have set for ourselves. And we spend a lot of time in course 112 actually making sure that we come up with a mission statement that keeps us motivated, keeps us focused. So awaken emotions through video. So take a look at that when you read that. Allocate a small budget to promote your best content on social media. I'm sure I told you guys this story already. There's this training outfit here. Is it NDAP? Is the training outfit here something called NDAP, National NDACT? Isn't that a training outfit? Anybody?
I'm not too sure.
Is there a training outfit called CDAT that does that?
Yes.
See that? Yes, yes. We have
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I
DACT.
when I first moved, I think I told you guys the story already. But anyway, when I first moved here, somebody found out that, well, it's supposed to be some kind of training guru or the other. And the lady in charge of, was it CDAT? That whatever.
Yes, see that. Mm-hmm.
She called me likely one day to come to a class she had there on what street is that?
H. Street.
H. Street. Oh, yeah. Like it was there, but yes. H. Street. So they were having a class. I went up there, and I mean, Mr. Cool, I went up there and see how the class was going on. And strange enough, they were doing a session on presentation skills. I'm sure I told you guys this already. Anyway, but it's because it's true, I could repeat it without tying up myself. So I am there watching these young ladies do presentations. And of course they had, most of them were making, very basic mistakes, which the rest of the class was supposed to be correcting. And then when I couldn't take it anymore, they asked me to say a few words. And I said, how come everybody is sitting down here with a smartphone? It didn't occur to anybody, including the lady who was running the program. I mean, I could tell her that to her face. Why not just tape the people presenting? None of those young ladies had ever seen themselves present. So when you tell them about some of the idiosyncrasies or where they had their hand, or if you had a hand on your hip or whatever, how much easier is it to just show them the video? All right? So I think we underestimate the power of video, and we underestimate our own potential as videographers. I mean, there are a lot of free courses online, to say how to use the iPhone camera and that type of thing. But I mean, just a steady 1-minute video makes a big difference. There's a whole 1,000 words of text you're talking about there. And I can tell you that when you have well-crafted video, cuts the whole talk and the amount of written material you have to put out by like 90%. Okay?
Anna?
Hello? Right. That was three. Somebody. All right. Number 4, apply for a Facebook donate now button on your nonprofit page. That is as straightforward as it gets. I'm sure that your CSO will have a Facebook page and you'll be able to arrange that. Although in some jurisdictions, it's not possible. Remember, this is the American writing all these tips in. Now, channel your network to form influential partnerships. I mean, I think you're tired hearing me talking about network already. All right? So I will just say, on your own time, take a long, hard look at number 5. Number 6, invest in email marketing. Now, we have not discussed that at length, but I can tell you from other organizations that I'm involved in that that is one of the cheapest ways to get messaging out, and that there are particular skill sets that you can develop to have email marketing campaigns done. And 7, this is the one I really want to spend some time on. Book speaking engagements. Let me read it. While some people would rather be trampled by a donkey than do public speaking, the majority can do it without having a panic attack. And this is the guy speaking here. I myself did 3 business speaking engagements with audiences as large as 200 plus attendees in the last year. And if I can do it, anyone can. As a nonprofit marketer, your work is tied to something incredibly powerful and that you feel passionate about. So what better way to express it than to do public speaking engagements? Public speaking shouldn't be underestimated as a marketing tactic for nonprofits. And while you might not think of this as digital, it is. Many events are recorded, periscoped, snapped, and posted online. Your slides can end up on SlideShare. And nowadays, event attendees are covering everything on social media, which means people will be tweeting what you are saying, using event hashtags, and spreading your message, leading to a wider audience and more potential donors. I mean, I want to really, really, when I say super endorse this. Many, many years ago, I joined something called the American Consultant League. I was starting off as a consultant, and I said, how do I grow my clientele? How do I change from Steve, the university lecturer, to Steve, the managing director of science-based initiatives? And one of the first things those Americans, who I have a healthy respect for, remember when I tell you about networking, I keep telling you, that we could learn so much from these Americans. They could sell horse dung in a bag. As a matter of fact, they do. And they call it flower grower, right? But it's really horseshit. We have to really, really, really understand the power of public speaking, right? Let me stop this share so that I can see how many of you are actually sleeping. Peeps. I want to see those of you who are still here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
I'm here too. Philip.
I'm here, sir. I'm here.
This is,
I'm here, sir.
this is
I'm here, sir.
we're finishing in the next, next 10 minutes. So I want us to spend this last 10 minutes talking about it. I feel
I
really.
mean, you're not.
You're not hearing me?
No.
I'm hearing you too.
I try rebooting my internet, but the same thing.
Kenya, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly.
Oh,
Okay, well then I suspect Nicholson might be at your end now.
For the last 5 weeks or so, I find that the internet is behaving a little funny.
Yeah.
It's not as
right
good
now
as
I'm
it
using
used to be.
for the
For the
past
last
3
5
days.
days.
The past 3 days I have to be using data because the internet sucks.
I think it could be a traffic issue as well as a bandwidth issue.
I think so.
Yeah, because remember everybody and their brother online now. For
Mr. Maxime?
Yeah.
Mr. Maxime, could you allow me 5 minutes? I just need to let somebody out of the driveway.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
By the time you come back, we may finish. But you'll see the recording, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So coming back to this business of public speaking, a lot of people are really, really, really scared about speaking in public. Some people are more comfortable with it, and again, it has to do with your experience, your background, right? If you've had the experience of speaking in front of 1,000 people, it puts you in a zone there that when next you have to talk to 200 people, it's nothing, right? But you don't get to that stage by never first talking to people. So one of the things that I learned over the years coming up is that you need to start small. You need to take every opportunity when we do get back to even face-to-face classes. Any opportunity you get to address an audience, you should take it. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to make everybody push you and you can't sit down and you only want to be talking. I'm talking about a structured approach to public speaking because it is going to make a big, big difference. It makes a big difference in your workplace. It makes a big difference in your social life. It makes a big difference in your religious life because there aren't many people that can get up and testify in a church setting. That too is a skill. I mean, everybody could get up and say what happened to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's an effective public speaking engagement, right? But like everything else, with practice, with constructive criticism, and the first thing I would advise is, let me stop there and ask a question, please. How many of you have seen yourself presenting on video? Quickly, yes.
I have.
Yes, I have.
I have.
Right.
I have.
Right.
I have.
I have. I don't like to, but I have.
All right. I don't like to. We had to come to that at some point, but because these are times when public speaking is a powerful tool, a really powerful tool to be able to convey your point about an issue. Princess, have you?
Hello.
Yes, Princess, have you?
I didn't hear the question. I didn't hear everything you said.
Have you ever seen yourself presenting on video? Doing public speaking on video?
No.
You know what you look like as a public speaker, right? That's the question I was asking, right?
Okay.
So I'm telling you, your first assignment, especially for the people who have not seen themselves speaking in public, is to start home, especially now in public distance, and just have your little cousin, your little brother, your daughter, your mother hold a cell phone and have you and explain anything. You become the best scene in the last movie or so. Just to be able to stand up and face somebody who is recording you. And how you sound. Because it's a revelation. None of us know how we sound. It is scientifically proven that we have no idea of our voice, of our tonal quality, until we hear a recording of ourselves. Because how your voice sounds to you when it resonates in your own head is a lot different to how other people hear it. So you might want to know why everybody finds you have such a squeaky voice, right? And when you talk, especially with your friends and the environment, it sounds so melodic and everything else. But until you see yourself and hear yourself on camera, you have no idea how you sound. So that would be the first exercise, I would think. Just do a 1 minute. A 1 minute is a long time. Right? Just do a 1 minute thing and have somebody in your household hold a camera in front of you and you talk about any topic. Talk about what you think about this fool who have you doing this exercise. You know? So go there and tell your trainer, this fool teaching me marketing wants us to do a public speaking thing. And this is how I would describe the class to you, my family members. And then you don't have to show it to us, but take a look at it. And those of you who want to share it with me one-on-one or just want to be able to have somebody critique it constructively, not somebody who will say, that is the shitty way to make that recording. You know, I'm not talking about that kind of criticism. I'm talking about your body language, your posture. Are you confident? Do you look as if you know what you're talking about? Because I mean, you saw the movie, so if you are talking about the best scenes in a movie, then you should be able to do that. You should be able to communicate that. And then you pick up some of your quirks. Some people might talk and always doing this. Nobody wants to hear somebody who's talking through their hand. Nobody. Right? If you look at your favorite politicians, none of them will be talking like this. What I really want to tell you all is that verbal hooks, crooks, supports, like, you know, as those things, all of these, you break out of that habit by practicing. Okay? So my last words for you as a marketing lecturer for people who are doing marketing for your CSOs, I want you to do that little exercise. Even if you're an accomplished public speaker, there are always things that you can learn from having a supportive environment, do a critique. So the Sherilyn's, the Karens, the people who are, you know, do this thing almost for a living, still all of us can improve. And it's interesting to hear what your family members think of your presentation style. Because when they see you outside on a platform or in a social gathering, they can't do the critique, they're there to support you. But in the privacy of your own home, if they ask you, Mommy, why is always the turn on your sides when you're talking? Because all of us have little quirks that we don't know, we don't pick up until we have somebody centrally focused on us doing those presentations. So especially for the people who don't like to do it, I'm suggesting it. For the people who are already most popular in the village and in the community, you know, even you know, can improve, right? Because it's a skill that you constantly improve, and you'll be surprised the kinds of doors that can open with effective public speaking. And the amount of people you can bring to your cause if you are convincing, passionate, genuine, because another thing that people pick up early is when you're not genuine. If you're coasting, if you're putting on airs, if you're speaking on an accent, stuff like that, they'll pick it up and they'll think that you're a fraud, right? And sometimes when you slip into that little category, it's difficult to come out. So practice, and the only way you can practice is if you're being recorded. Because as I said, when you speak, it sounds great in your own head, but your voice comes across differently when it's recorded, right? And I'm sure a lot of you found that out in terms of singing. You're singing in the bathroom there by yourself at the top of your voice and you think it's so melodic. Why everybody else in the house will be complaining is because maybe no song is good coming out as when it's inside of your head. Right, guys?
So I have a question.
Please.
I find you trying to give me one with this singing thing.
No.
Why are you trying to give me one, sir?
No. I never even knew that you was supposed to be a songbird.
So I'm the worst at singing.
Just remember they have singers and they have singers, eh? All right? So you might be a singer.
May?
Yes?
The point you just made, I just want to reinforce that. The point about practicing. I remember some years ago when I went to work at a call center, it was really hard for me to say, I understand how you feel and I'm so sorry. Those are the empathetic words. And honestly, they told me to come home and do it in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
So usually when I'm having little sessions with some of the young guys with whom I work with, I always tell them, try, if you really want to do it, try it in front of the mirror and honestly, you'll get good at it.
Yeah. And as I say, the one step better than the mirror, with all due respect, is to have it on video. So that you can play it back at your leisure. The trouble with saying it into the mirror is that you have to concentrate on looking and critiquing while you're saying it. You with me?
Point taken.
When you are videotaped, I mean, do not ever underestimate the power of video. And part of the difficulty is that you're going to be using your kids, your cousins, and they're not going to be steady. The camera going to be moving. They might have it in the wrong light. They might have you stand up in front of a very strong light, so all we see is an image, right? But in time, you will understand what the difference lighting makes. And why I'm prepping you for all this is that as a young consultant, as a junior consultant, whenever you get an opportunity to do a public presentation, especially something on TV, right? I was thrown into that very, very, very early. The very first consultant job in St. Kitts, the Minister of Health, Minister of Agriculture, and me in a TV studio, right? And people throwing questions at you, and you're there on live TV. And I mean, nothing sobers you up like that, right? And then you start understanding the importance of, and this one is going to come to as a shock to you, especially since I was accused of this in the beginning. But makeup, nobody appears on TV without some kind of powder or something to keep that gloss from those powerful lights, right? So that they're going to send you for somebody for makeup, because they understand that if the lighting is bad, you're going to come across greasy, looking worse than you look, etc., etc.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm a sole example of that.
Right? So that especially if you're going to be, interviewed in a Rakadam kind of way, right? I'm not calling any studios here, but I mean, there are some organizations when you go in there, there's a makeup person waiting for you if you're on a morning program or so to make sure that, if you're wearing a shirt is buttoned up properly, if they put the mic, sometimes they put the
clip-ons,
and it's passing through your shirt, your shirt button remains unopened, and there you on TV with the one hole in your merino showing because there's two buttons in button, that type of thing. But that has to do with the professionalism. But coming back to the home experience, get your son, get your daughter, get your cousin, get your uncle, get your mother, or somebody to just hold that camera. And if you happen to live alone, better yet, take your phone, lean it up against a table, press record, put the camera facing, walk back, make sure you can see your entire body and the thing, and start talking. And then come back and turn it up and do a proper review of your 1 minute or 2 minute presentation. So with that, that is all I want to share with you on this Tuesday evening. You've paid attention for more than an hour and almost 2 hours, and that is a long stretch by anything. And I was lucky that no one left their mic on and said how they really felt, so that I didn't have to have a...
As yet, don't talk too soon.
We did not have a mic on moment. So, any closing comments before we wrap up?
Just on the last point you made, Mr. Martin, I mean, this is really critical. I remember when I used to be a sports announcer for one of the radio stations, and I also had a program that I used to do for that same radio announcer. I had to pre-record more than 10 times, and it's not a matter of I wasn't speaking properly or so, but it's just that I must use a voice that appeals to the audience and not for me. So that voice, that recording has to go out that people would gravitate towards, and not just me gravitating to my own voice, you know. So I used to pre-record like 5-6 times, 5 different ways, 6 different ways, just so we could get the best to sell the story that we actually that I'm actually giving. So that is something that most members should really think about doing, and it helps a lot. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and it becomes natural after a time. Like every time you start to speak after a time, it's just one. It becomes as if it's one way you have to speak, because it just becomes specialized.
And before Kevin brings up this very old joke, I am aware of the fact that I have a face for radio. So with that, people, good night, and we will see on Tuesday, unless there are any other comments before we...
Yes, so radio, Mr. Maxime, like you can hear with your nose.
No.
See you on Tuesday, sir.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Good
night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.